Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Nadex Morning Analysis. It is Monday, June 7th. God, I cannot believe we are into June. My name is Todd Rich. I'm with Nadex. With me from Keep Trading Simple, Brian Caprice. We are going to do a little analysis, take a look at some hot spots in the markets today. Before we get over there, I do need to share this quick disclaimer that trading involves risk. It may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. So, what do we got today? It's actually a very quiet day. I think there's not a lot of news. I don't think we've got a lot of news up this week. There might be a couple of things coming out later this week that might move the markets, but we're in the middle of June. People are starting to wrap up school and get focused on maybe stepping away from it all for a couple of weeks before everyone starts their summer jobs, at least all the kids that are in school. So, what I think Brian and I are going to do today is let's just take a look at some technical analysis, and we're just going to go around the horn a little bit. We'll take a look at an index. We're going to take a look at the Dow to start. Let's just do some technical analysis, some potential trade setups in the Dow. We'll look over at a currency. We'll look at the pound dollar, and then we'll take a peek at gold. Gold, moving around a little bit as we talk about economic recovery, inflation, things of that nature. So gold's going to be in play for a while. So Brian, I'm going to go ahead and flip it over to you, and we'll just go around the Dow, the pound, and gold, and any other color commentary you got for us.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's not a very big news Monday. Like I said, beginning of June is when kids are starting to get out of school. Colleges are basically done at this point. So it tended to be a little bit slow every week. And again, that's just what we have to deal with. But no real news today, even low impact. Even with the extreme low, there's really not a whole lot today. And even tomorrow is a rather slow day. We have some economic sentiment and then CPI for China really, really late. So it's not even like we can prepare tonight for a lot of great movement. So far today, I mean, we're seeing a little bit of dollar weakness. I would say that pound strength is probably leading the way. All the headlines we've seen thus far this morning have been more kind of pound related. The BOE has made a couple comments down here. There were some comments in the overnight by Japan, but really the pound is the only. I mean, we have, the Mayweather fight is, that's on the top hottest news right now as far as economics go.
How's that moving the markets?
Yeah, right now there's just not a lot out there. There's a little bit, FXG put out something for the Aussie dollar. And like I said, the BOE is really the only major player besides, again, about 8 hours ago, the government of Japan said that they would work with the BOJ to help revitalize the economy. But they got to get COVID completely under control before they can do that. So, it hasn't been the biggest mover. I would say, one bit of news, and it is interesting that we've seen this. We got this news yesterday. Janet Yellen made a comment about higher interest rates would be good for the country. Very interesting to make a comment like that. We know what's going to happen with the stock markets. If you raise the interest rate, it's great for the dollar. It will make the dollar a more powerful currency, right? One that people seek out more because it has an interest rate that will return. But it will cause a crash in the stock market because, again, it makes lending more expensive. It kind of hurts us because it will hurt companies with their exports. So it's as far as you and I buying things at the grocery store, it does absolutely nothing to us. It doesn't make the country better or worse, because again, it has to deal with foreign transactions. But it will raise mortgage rates. It will raise auto loans. It will raise all interest rates across the board. Again, one of those things. It's kind of an odd statement.
Although I'll play devil's advocate on the mortgage rates just a little bit. Yeah, you know what? You can get right now. You can get a rate below 3%.
Yeah, it's right. It's right around 3. I mean, you can see right here, 15-year fixed 2.1. That's a refi. But the problem is you can't find a house.
Right, there we go. Right. So now, I mean, if it went if it went up 50% and it went from 2% to 3%, historically speaking, that's actually pretty negligible.
Mhm.
I mean, I just speak me speaking from my first mortgage was a
Yeah,
723 refi at 13%.
yeah, yeah. But again, nobody wants to spend more money on something, you
Yeah,
know. And like I
I'll
said,
give you
as
that.
far as
I'll
how it would
give
be
you
great for the country, crashing the stock market again, it's been
that.
up there forever, or causing any type of turbulence where we could start popping a potential bubble. Not necessarily the best thing. And what's interesting about this is if you look crossover in the markets, you know, this she's saying, hey, raising interest rates would be great. You know, it'd be good for the country, right? Yesterday, we're still moving higher. You can see there was a little bit of a spike down. So it's kind of one of those things.
No
Her
one cared.
comments are there. It's not reflecting over into the market. Gold is not.
Yeah.
Gold is actually coming down. And again, rising interest rates means hey, listen, we got to curb inflation. Gold doesn't care. It's going down right now. So where it's setting up today, so far we're seeing in the market in the European session, and again, we'll put our little marker out here. European session started really right here. It was the little kind of spike to the downside. Let's turn this around. And again, it was just such a quick touchdown because it's Monday morning. We've seen nothing but kind of strength in the Dow go straight up today. So we had a level that was there previously. The reason I kind of like this setup, and of the three indices, they're more or less. I mean, you could say they're flat. The Dow is the only one that's really showing strength, and now the
Yep.
ES and the NQ are both starting to roll over, become flat, and the ES is actually slightly positive. So when you're looking at it, kind of what we've seen for the last 8 hours, the YM has been the strong one, right? The ES was following closely behind, and then NQ was weak. If we were seeing a negative open today, do you want to go with the strongest currency for the most negative open or the weakest? You always go weakest, right? And if you want to go long, again, you want to go with the strongest of the three indices if today is going to be a green day. Now, right now, we're punching through a previous level that we had. It was this level here at 34,790 up to about 34,820 ish. You can see the last time we came up, we had right 9:30, you know, kind of session open. It got hammered right back to the downside on June 1st. And again, June 1st would have been a Tuesday. So more or less again, right after the holiday, you know, we knew that, you know, was potential to come in. So right now it's not a holiday weekend, but as we're pushing through again, this is one of those times for a continuation pattern. Looking for this maybe to push a little bit above. We got about, you know, 40 minutes. If we can continue to rally a little bit higher, look for any type of a pullback. And again, we marked this off last week, this gigantic green arrow that is 35,000 on the radar. And I think it absolutely could be, you know. Is it today? Most likely not. You know, that would be quite a big move. I mean, you know, can it move 200 points in a day? Sure. With no major catalyst, it's a little bit harder. And if we do get a catalyst today, it's going to be some type of comment or speech. I mean, Biden could just come out and I mean, he's not, you know, a big Twitter guy, but it's going to take some type of surprise type headline coming out there. And right now, again, making no changes, letting the, you know, the interest rate situation stay as is right now. Again, that tends to lead us more towards a positive day today. So I would say look for any pullbacks into the 34, you know, 819, 815 range for this to go higher. And again, eventually try to hit 35,000 this week.
You know, yeah. I mean, there's wouldn't it be? We said that last time. I'm going to bring this over. Watch for that 35,000 up above just to see if it can touch it. You know, sometimes it just wants
Mm-hmm.
to get there because it wants. You know, why do you climb a mountain? Last time we said that, it actually went up, touched it, and came immediately back
Yeah,
down.
it went up and smacked it.
It's like, oh yeah, you guys said that. We're gonna go up here, touch it. All right, we did it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a quick peek. I did want to take a look if you were, you know, looking for some strength in the Dow for today on a quiet day. What could you potentially do? We do have the binary options clearly, but I wanted to take a quick peek over at some call spreads, and let's just kind of see if there's any call spread levels where it might be interesting. And I mean, here's one of them, where if you were looking for an opportunity to see the Dow go higher, you know, limited risk, limited reward. I mean, with a call spread, you are paying a little bit of a premium. So if it comes down through this floor, you will not get knocked out of the trade like a knockout. You'd still have time for him. If you were to come down a little bit and then go back up, you'd still have an opportunity to be right. This is a daily call spread. So call spreads could be kind of interesting way to play it to the upside. If you were compelled to do that, and if you were actually thought it were going to go lower at some point or roll over it, you can click on the different call spreads and actually see it shades where the call spread is. But at some point, if it were to you wanted to take a short position, you could check those out as well. But take a look at your call spreads. I think they're kind of interesting way to play the market, as well as knockouts. But I want to keep rolling along. Definitely some opportunity there with the Dow. You want to take a quick peek over at the pound?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean the pound so far today. Again, we've seen comments out of the BOE, so that's always been helpful when you have actual some news headlines out there. And again, we're seeing the dollar kind of get a little bit weak. And again, we've seen that many weeks now, where we kind of go into the morning with one trend and then it reverses the rest of the week, which it absolutely could. Today could be a weak day for the dollar. And then tomorrow, everybody say, "Hey, Yellen said that it would be great to raise interest rates," and then all of a sudden, everything could rotate tomorrow. Right now, since this morning, here's the European Open. We've had what 70 pips already this morning on a Monday with really no news out there, just a few statements. We have pushed up. We are going to see profit taking at some point today. Not that I'm really kind of a bear for the pound. I do think it will continue to push higher, but I do say that there is probably a level here that there's going to be some selling coming in, just as everybody is capturing their profit. And the U.S. trader stepping in. Now we had a prior level here, and there's actually two levels we mentioned. We had that spike a little bit higher up into this 141.96 level. You can see it spiked over here. Now, I think both these levels are an interesting situation. We've had now 3 touches of this level, and it's pushed it pretty deep, but the last one didn't go quite as far. We were kind of looking for some type of either a session open or some type of blockbuster news. And again, you can see this one. We literally spiked up on the 4th on Friday, grabbed it right at that 8:30, 9 o'clock time window when we had all the news on Friday, the non-farm numbers, and all it did was it drove it straight back down again, right? Because it was the data was too good. But it was a quick parabolic retracement move back down again, right to the origin of the move. And again, it brings us to where we are now. So since the opening today, it retraced it. It is pushing back up again. We know that there are areas of sellers up there. With the timing of everything, we probably are looking for some type of profit taking coming in. But I think either of these levels are decent. And again, if it's just kind of a quick touch and it's around that 10:30 mark, I think we have a valid short in here. If we come up and start basing, though, if we start basing, I think your profit targets need to be a bit higher. We have this green line, and it's probably a little bit low, probably more up here. But I think, again, if we start to base in the yellow or base in the red, some sideways movement, something along these lines here, or like some type of thing like this right here, look for this to go higher. We break through that 141.96 level. Look for it to come up to 142.40-ish level. About 45 pips, I would say, to the top side. But again, I think that's probably what we're going to see. It's been a pretty consistent trend where we have one day of dollar movement in one direction, and then the next day it's reversing back. And you can see right now we're already starting to get a little bit of a red hiccup. So, and just to coincide this, here's what the dollar index has done. It's kind of pushed down, and now it's finding areas down here where, again, there's your buyers coming in here, right? Huge push, touched, then bounced again. You have dollar strength coming in. Pound dollar should turn to roll over. So again, pink area of the curve. New session is opening. Dollar index is hitting an area of buyers. All these signs are kind of leading up to the same thing for some type of reversal in the pound.
A reversal in the pound, which is kind of funny. I brought up the chart that we had driven. I mean, we hadn't spoken about this for over a week, and I was just looking at this, and it's just, it's a little ironic how these work. But I'm actually dragging this level across that we had from a week ago. We had these 2 levels from a week ago, down below and up above. Now it's moved around quite a bit, but it's interesting to see that there are levels where buyers and sellers do. I mean, down below, I mean, it tested this level from a week ago. I mean, obviously it blew through in that parabolic move last week with the dollar, but this was this 140 this 41.16-ish level was definitely a level below. Now we are at that level up above. It tested it, punched through, but then it's testing it again, and so right around in here, around this 141.80-ish level. Sellers do come in. So interesting opportunities potentially with the pound. Take a look at that. There's some technical levels there. I think what you were saying is if it does punch through, there's a level just up above, and I just want to kind of put it on here, which is also one that we've seen several times in the past week. So All right, I'm going to, but yeah, the binary options in here become kind of interesting if the pound starts moving around and we see a retracement in the pound as the Europeans sign off and as the U.S. traders take over.
Mhm.
Let's do one last. Let's do one last one. Let's do a quick one on gold. I'll let you do
Yeah.
a quick one on gold, and then we'll call it a day here.
Yeah, I mean, this is more a lesson I would say today than anything else. I mean, here's where we were sitting last Friday when we did our presentation in the morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we had the non-farm news coming in. We saw what it was, and we had a bunch of different news releases, and we talked about a level. Again, this punching higher, and you can see it was an explosion higher. We had a parabolic move down. We kind of formed that base, and again, all the news did was bring us right back up to where we were prior to that move. It was a level where we had sellers stepping in, and you can see at what 10:30, 11 o'clock, and we mentioned it's on a Friday. That's when a lot of people are leaving. This is exactly what we just talked about with the pound. You're going to have profit taking, right? We were here 2 hours later. What did it do? It finally hit the zone where we had sellers coming in again. And then it's done nothing but continue to roll down. And again, about 3:30 this morning, 3 o'clock this morning, right? It's right here. Right there is your 3 o'clock. There's where you can see the dollar started to getting weak. And then again, the gold started to get a little bit higher. But a lot of wicks. There's not really a whole lot of movement in here. I would say, again, you would assume, and yesterday in here is where the Janet Yellen made that comment, right?
Yeah.
Saying, oh, interest rates would be great. I mean, again, interest rates, gold, it went straight down, and the market really didn't pay much attention to it whatsoever.
Nope.
So it's one of those things. I mean, statements are statements. The market is the market. They are different entities. And in the grand scheme of things, are you going to believe are you going to believe one person's statement, or are you going to believe millions and millions of markets, billions and billions of dollars out there that are moving the markets to see, and again, does the big money have the potential to control the market more than one person? Most times, yeah, unless it's like a blockbuster rate decision. But at the end of the day, if it's already prepared for it, could go to the exact opposite of what the rate decision is anyway. So I would say right now, again, seeing a little bit of rally up is not necessarily something that's surprising. We went off that level. If we do tend to grind up there, I would say that that's probably a level to roll over. Any interest rates that they mentioned this week will be, again, something in there. And silver is basically in the same situation. So I would say look for this to roll. Silver, kind of the same thing. You guys can see 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock on Friday after this big push up. All it did was retrace back to the downside. And again, Nadex ever gets weekend-based contracts. There's your weekend-based contracts, right?
Yeah.
And again, silver's kind of the same setup. Yeah, I figured it would be there eventually, but we can stand this cross. I mean, anything on the downside, I'd be looking for this to come down to 1872, the downside. And again, top size, if you guys want to use some type of a bracket types of strategy, I'd say 1894, 1872, top and bottom for gold, and then silver is kind of the same scenario. You got one up top, sitting right here, which again has been tested, and then obviously downside the 27.19 to the downside. So you can keep those when you're ready for the week.
All right, so just a quick little rundown of what we ran through. The Dow looking the strongest of the equity indices, the U.S. equity indices this morning, drifting higher. We've got the pound. The pound US dollar looking for a potential rollover around in here as the European traders might do some profit taking and as the US traders step in. And then Brian just ran down some technical levels in gold as well as silver. With that, if you got any questions for Nadex, please email us, customer service at nadex.com. You got any questions for Brian? He is also very accessible. You can email and ask Brian questions. He loves interacting with you guys. Support at keeptradingsimple.com. Again, we've got a bit of just a quiet day in regards to the news, so we ran down some technical levels to take a look at. We looked at an indice, we looked at a commodity pair, and we looked at we looked at a forex pair, and we looked at a commodity. With that, Brian and I will catch you again tomorrow morning. We'll take a look at what we got coming for tomorrow. I want to wish you all good luck in the markets. Thanks, everyone.